the last time. Welcome to New Stripe City, a podcast for diehard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by a very special guest, Bengals Real Talk, the Facebook group. We used to
In
be
the
on here
building.
all the time.
We in
Head
the building,
honcho,
baby.
my boy Nardo. Nardo, say what's up to the people, bruh.
What's going on, fam? What's going on, people? Let's do this.
Let's do this. For y'all that have been watching this channel for a minute, you guys all know that it started off as me, Nardo, Moody, my boy Ken. All of us started this together. Just Bengals fans through and through. Been through the earlier than Marvin eras. Been through the Marvin eras. Been through the trenches. And we just like to give our thoughts on certain things pertaining to the Bengals. So of course, with the major news coming today, Marvin Lewis coming back, we felt like it was only right that we had to reunite and drop some kind of discussion here. So Nardo, let the people know what your thoughts are on Marvin. I know you can't wait, so let them know.
Um, I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of them people. I definitely thought it was a time for us for a new voice, to be heard for us going forward. But after the past 40 hours, with these new reports coming out saying that Lewis was actually challenging Mike Brown for power, and that he's been asking to have the position to be able to get rid of assistant coaches, which I've apparently been asking that over for quite some time now. Kind of made me think, um, is new coach really gonna walk through the doors of Paul Brown Stadium and be able to demand day one expectations from Mike Brown? And just thinking it out, I don't think it. I don't think that was gonna work. I really don't. Whatever. As much as I wanted a new voice, I don't. It may have backfired, to be honest, in some form degree. Um, I think I'm taking Lewis got what he got what he wanted, and that we kind of it's kind of like a sit back and see, especially with all the noise with a lot of the assistant coaches will not be returning. I know everybody, Paul Alexander, that's probably on top of everybody's list. So everybody's
Right.
everybody on standby to see who's these particular coaches. And then I was reading a transcript of one of the Dayton writer wrote that saying Lewis wanted he wanted the offense to be high powered. He wanted he his expectation was he wanted the offense to be dictating games, not instead of letting the defense, which we haven't seen that since Hugh.
Right.
So is Laser out the door with that? Do he think Laser defense? I mean, offense is capable of that? Those are questions that I guess we won't. We'll see will be answered within the next few days.
So I was talking to you earlier, and it said that there was a bomb that I had to kind of drop, and I just received word. I was talking to some family back home, and apparently there were some conversations being said where it slipped out that Mike Brown actually pulled the trigger on the John Ross draft pick. They said Marvin Lewis wanted to draft, believe it or not, Reuben Foster, and they said that Mike Brown pulled the override card and said, "Nah, we're going with John Ross." So it's kind of crazy to see how things kind of played out because, like you said, there was some sort of power struggle, which was weird to me because it was like back in 2010 we knew the power struggle existed, but they made I don't know if they threw up this false thing that Marvin was more involved in the situation or the process with Duke Tobin and Mike Brown and Katie Blackburn. It kind of seemed like that's how things were, but apparently they saying, and I'm hearing this from like an actual player that actually said this was that Marvin Lewis was overruled with the John Ross pick, which now it kind of makes sense why Marvin Lewis wasn't really trying to play dude and why like it seemed like he wasn't really too thrilled about him because we saw the practice highlights and
You
dude
know
was
what?
tearing it up.
I still don't. I can't really say. I can't really just knowing how. I mean, just based off what I've learned about Lewis over the years, I can't really see him just doing Ross funky like that though. I think it
Right.
was. I mean that could have played a little bit into it. Like, you know what, whatever. But I don't think he would have did him dirty to the point that, you know what, I'm gonna make an example out of you. You're not gonna play none this year or anything
Right.
like that. I mean, from my take, whatever, far as when I heard on Ross, and this is coming from, once again, this was coming from some players though. They felt that he was behind the eight ball all this year, especially, and what kicked it off was he got held back because he didn't graduate.
Right.
So we had
The
Josh
stupid
Malone.
rules.
Josh Malone had already graduated for Tennessee, had got a chance to participate in the off season activities, and things like that. And then coming into camp, he, being held back, whatever, and everything. I think I can't even. He didn't even start practicing the camp to what, to the almost to the end, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
he got in, what was that, like the second to last preseason game or something
Yeah,
like
he
that?
didn't start. He didn't kick off. His camp didn't start to maybe started late. So from what I'm told, whatever and everything, they felt that um, Josh Malone had, he put in the time. So, and it could be a default to Lewis though, is that he feels that, if a player put in a particular time, that player automatically, no matter if you was drafting the first round through sixth round, whatever, that player should have rights, whatever, to be, as far as to be on the field, to get a chance to have an opportunity. Which we see in the past though. We see that with vets now that we
Right.
really disagree with. So I kind of see some. I think it's more on that line, whatever, that Marvin Lewis, expectations. He wanted more for as Ross to participate more, and that was. And then on top of that, we trying to dress what, six, seven receivers a game, which is,
That's true.
that's kind of hard to do, whatever and everything. But
Right.
he, I think one of his things is that he didn't care. He didn't give a damn if you a first round or what round you came with. You don't put the time in, you ain't gonna go. So I don't
Right.
know. We'll see this year, because if we that continues into this following season, that automatically tells us, like, wait a minute, man. There's something funky definitely going on. If this guy in his second year and you still can't get him on the field.
Right. I definitely agree with you. I think maybe it wasn't necessarily that, and I hope I didn't try to present it that way, that Marvin Lewis tried to blackball him or anything, but I think going off of what you said, I totally agree with everything you said. But going back to a guy like Jerome Simpson, he was a guy that was taken highly, and it took a while for him to get on the field. And Marvin kind of always, Marvin speaks in code when he speaks through the media. So it seemed like Marvin was basically saying, well, hey, if you don't know the plays, you can't get on the field. And
Yeah,
even though Ross was making plays in practice, that still doesn't mean that he knew verbatim what the playbook was. So like you said, dude was already behind the eight ball, which we knew he was going to be behind the eight ball because he had that whole situation with graduating. Um, what was that, after minicamp? So he couldn't even participate in the rookie minicamp.
yeah. He
And then
wasn't.
by the
He wasn't
time,
running.
right, exactly. Then he was also recovering from. They decided to go with the surgery for him to work on the shoulder and stuff like that at the beginning of the season. So yeah, like you said, he was just behind the eight ball. I just thought that it was crazy, and it kind of seems like the power struggle that Lewis talked about was real because not only did if the rumor is true, which I heard this from a very legit source, if the rumor is true that Mike Brown overruled Marvin Lewis on that, did he also overrule Marvin Lewis on the Andrew Whitworth situation? Did
That's
he
true.
also overrule him on the Pac-Man situation? Like to pay, and we're both Pac-Man fans, but to pay him the amount of money that he did, and to hear how Mike Brown is in love with Pac-Man. He is a Pac-Man guy. So there's
Yeah,
no other team that would have possibly paid Pac-Man that money, even though he was a shutdown corner and everything like that. Coming off of the situation that he was in, he wouldn't have gotten paid like that with another team. And then it's like the Drake Kirkpatrick thing. It almost is like, was that Mike Brown or was that Marvin Lewis? So it's almost kind of like
right
what.
now that situation got everybody. I mean, anybody that's been a fan for quite some time, your eyebrows gotta be up. You gotta be looking like, okay, what's really been going on here? Because is Lewis been the scapegoat for the owner for this
Right.
period of time? That, I mean, and I mean this, and I mean, just saying, if Lewis had left today, just said that he didn't do the deal, I honestly just, I mean, just keeping it 100. I think he would go somewhere and be successful off rip, and everybody would question and say, why didn't he do that here? I think that
Right.
was truly what happened. I think he should. I mean, I think he should have been happened far as us being successful far as a player, but I think he's been playing behind the eight ball a lot far as with the owner as well.
Right. And just to bring it back, I think we were talking. I just had thought about it. What was it? What was it? What was it? I was thinking about. It was something dealing with Marvin Lewis, and it was damn. I
You
really can't think.
talking about the far as the players with Ross or
There was something where I was thinking it was like a decision that was made where Marvin didn't agree with it, but it was kind of forced on them. But it'll probably come back to me later. But yeah, it's just really weird to hear that it was still a. Oh, that's what I was talking about. That's what I wanted to talk about. It wasn't exactly the players; it was the coaches. So I know you probably remember because we be on this Bengals stuff all the time. But like earlier in the season when Ken Zampese was fired, I think actually you had told us this. Marvin actually didn't want to keep Ken Zampese. Like Mike Brown basically made him keep him another year after last year. He was kind of like, all right, am I gonna? I kind of want to move on. So was that another Mike Brown thing?
yeah, the word got out that Marvin wanted to change the offensive coordinator last year for us switching up. So I think you know what that is. I mean, looking back now after we heard what we heard in the past 40 hours, that kind of makes sense now. That like okay, maybe
Right.
these are what we talking about because once again it came up that he won't say so over his assistants, and I'm like that's kind of crazy for a coach not to have say so over who's working for him,
Right.
and it just so everything's starting to line up that yeah, this is a Mike Brown show that's going on.
Now, obviously, after we'll get more into Marvin, but obviously after Marvin left, it was like what 15 minutes later. There's a report that Paul Gunther is leaving. What are your thoughts on Gunther leaving, and what do you think led to it, and what do you think comes out of Paul Gunther leaving?
Polly G thought he was gonna get the job. A lot of people is I don't know when it's gonna come out that was the fact. Polly G thought he was Marvin Lewis was gonna move on and he's gonna be the next candidate up. That's what happened. That's pretty much that's just the go ahead and just put it out in the air. Polly G thought he was gonna get the job. So when Marvin announced that he was coming back, whatever, and Polly G, hey, I want to look for other opportunities. That's I mean that's what it is. So
Do you
it
think
is
that it
what it
was?
is.
You think it was? I think like you said. You think it was like a kind of like a mutual parting of ways, like
Yeah,
go.
I don't think it was no beef. I don't think they had no beef with each other. You got to think Marvin and Polly go back for years, back when what Washington, when they
Right.
Washington days. So you know what I'm saying? We talking about what 20 these 20 plus years ago, something like that. So
Right.
I don't think it was no beef or nothing like that. But I think Polly did think everybody within the Bengal organization pretty much that's not in the head office thought Marvin wasn't coming back. It
Right.
just that's what everybody, even assistant coaches, everybody thought it was a wrap, and it was. I mean, that's the way they took it. But Polly thought he was gonna get the job though. That's what happened.
I totally agree with you. I think, like you said, like it was a mutual parting of ways, and if the reports were true, in which we don't even know, like I've never seen somebody actually like expose a Ian Rappaport report or Adam Schefter report as being fake, but the Bengals have done it numerous times. But there was a report that Marvin was somewhat a little bit upset with how much his coaches were paid. I don't know how true that is in terms of compensation. I know that one coach, I believe it was a secondary coach or safeties, or I think Mark Carrier or something like that. I remember he ended up leaving because he had some kind of dispute over compensation. But I think that I don't think that Marvin Lewis or Mike Brown didn't pay coaches adequately. I think that it was just that they weren't going to overpay for assistants like a team like Dallas would, or a team like Philadelphia,
That's
other
exactly.
teams that have no problem with throwing bags at assistant coaches. And I
Yeah.
think I think like you said, he wanted to be the Bengals head coach, and if that wasn't going to work out here, it was time for him to pursue some other opportunities because he had opportunities with the Redskins. The Eagles actually wanted to interview him for the head coaching position last year or 2 years ago. And I mean, this is a weak market. He might as well take advantage of a weak market because he could possibly end up a head coach of the Chicago Bears or anybody out there. And then there was also reports that John Gruden wanted him for his team as well. So I think, like you said, it was just a mutual parting of ways. It was like, all right, and I think, like you said, they are pretty fond of Jimmy Haslett, so I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to make him the coordinator as well.
I honestly, I think it's between. I think Jimmy got a foot up on everybody, but I think it's between him or Jack Del Rio. I think Jack.
Mm,
That's him and Marvin. A lot of people don't know it. Him and Marvin Lewis is really, really close.
right.
Um, they them two, whatever and everything. They in far as in coaches tree, I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a linebacker coach.
That would be dope. That would be dope. Like Jack Del Rio, I think would be a great fit in Cincinnati for the same reasons that you named. Like the fact that, and I didn't even know that, the fact that he already has a relationship with Marvin Lewis. It seems like anytime there's any coach in the league that has a relationship with Marvin Lewis, he ends up recruiting them and sealing the deal and bringing them to Cincinnati. And I think Del Rio will be a great fit for our defense for sure.
Yeah, I think
Um, Not
definitely
to
think
cut
that.
you out, I'm about to. I know we got the comments popping up here. This is one thing that we didn't used to do back in the day, but now I just noticed how to do it. So just rolling through a couple of comments here. Somebody gave you a compliment on your beard. They said that they strive to have the same type of beard that you have.
Trying to keep it, fluffy. I'm trying to get it there.
Let's see. Everybody talking about Reuben Foster. There's somebody said that they hope that John Ross has a bounce back season. We pretty sure that he's gonna have one. Somebody said that this is a top five team because the roster is stacked, but it's one of the worst coach teams. I'm honestly not mad with Lewis. The end of the season was solid, and if we beef up the O line and free agency and have a solid draft, we are set. Somebody else said, honestly, Ray. Oh, they must be talking about my MVP list. Honestly, Ray, Denard, or Green should be the Bengals MVP. Somebody said, facts. Just think about it. They must be responding to something you said, Nardo. It says if we win that game in Pittsburgh and then the Bears game, we're in the playoffs. Jacob C said that loss to Pitt killed our season. I definitely agree. Oh, somebody just went in on Polly G. Somebody said Polly must have been hallucinating. He wasn't even that good of a defensive coordinator. So how was he going to be a head coach? That hey, I don't know how. I definitely like, even though I'm somewhat shocked and upset that we brought back Marv. I definitely would rather have Marv than Polly G. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Well,
Uh, let's see.
Polly G a little salty tonight too, whatever and everything. He thought he was inheriting a already ready made team, whatever. So we'll see how his situation works out for him.
So what do you think about the people? Because I was one of them. I was like frustrated, but I was I was frustrated, but I knew it was coming. It's like when we saw that, and just kind of like they slid and snuck it in there. Like you jump on Bengals.com, and then you notice this random article just posted there talking about Marvin Lewis discussing the return to the Bengals. And then it didn't even say that. It said something like Lewis working with the Bengals, and then when you actually clicked on it, it said the first line was Marvin Lewis and the Bengals are discussing the return. That's when I just knew that it was over.
Yeah, I mean it just
And I think the press conference too. Like when you watch
it
that press conference, that didn't seem like a dude that was like, "I'm out of here."
yeah. Even though he tried to show up at the press conference with no bigger girl on, he played it though. I give him credit though. He definitely he played it off whatever. I mean it was just just looking at it now, it's basically trying to. And I don't nobody really know what he what was agreed on. do we? I mean, apparently he's getting some say so far as the coaches, which was
Right.
going on now because we don't know. I mean, word is not all. Most of the assistants are not coming back, and don't nobody really know who's that since everybody contract is currently up. So we can't sit there and dictate who's coming back. I've seen a lot of players like Gio has been on social media asking for what's the running back coach. Was
Oh,
that
Kyle
Kasky?
Kasky. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, yeah. Gio wants him to come back bad, whatever, and everything. I seen him, basically throwing it out in the air, saying that he hopes the team bring him back. So it's gonna be interesting to see who's in and who's out. Like I
So
said,
that's a good thing that you just threw out there. So obviously, me and you, we don't know who's in and who's out. But if you had to speculate on which of these coaches are in and who's out, who would be, I guess, your votes for who's in and who's out from this coaching staff?
um, out, I would say Paul Paul Alexander. That would probably be my number one. I think Jim Haslett. I think he's coming back. Um, Laser, that's a tough one, man. Because I read about something the other day that Marvin Lewis was giving him praise, saying that he really was impressed about what he was able to do with the offense, with the through the last 6 remaining games. But also, I just read today saying that he thought that he wanted the offense to be high dynamic and high powered. And can Laser do that? I mean, that's
Right.
that's kind of I don't know about that one, whatever. So,
Right.
but I mean, I think Paul Alexander. I would like to see a new offensive lineman coach, especially with the guys seeing Redmond and Westerman play. That kind of raised eyebrows. Like, okay, if you've been this guru offensive line coach for this long, how the hell you didn't know these guys could hold their own in the game, especially against the Ravens, which is one guy
Right.
who got one of the top defensive lines in the NFL. So that's kind of eye opening.
Yeah, I think that I would have to agree with you on that in terms of the who's out. I think Paul Alexander fits the mold of the person that he wants out because Paul Alexander was there before Marvin Lewis even got there. And when you think about the whole Bob Brakowski saga that lasted so long, all the way up until 2011, and Marvin had wanted to fire the guy for years, but Mike Brown is such a loyal guy that he kept him around in that situation. And I think that you see the same thing with Paul Alexander. This is 2 years in a row now that the offensive line has not played up to where they expect to be at. And I mean,
Do you
I
want
post
his input on another top
no.
first round?
No, and somebody just asked who we wanted in the draft, and I haven't been against the offensive line. I'm just scared to let them pick this offensive lineman because when you look at the past 5 years, they have struck out with almost every pick. I mean, maybe Christian Westerman might work out. I'm not sure, but it's like every single person that they've picked, like after Kevin Zeitler, has been trash has
You
been trash. And I just really and the thing that the nightmares that I get is when you go back to that 2015 draft. Was that 2000? No, my bad. Was that
11?
2015? Was
Which
that
one?
15?
Which one?
The old boy he draft was that
The
15 or
boy
was that
draft
14?
was 14. He going into his 4th year. This is the
He
last
going into
year's rookie contract coming up.
okay, cool. 14. Like, we all check, all of us fans always check the Bengals.com videos right after the draft, and they let the positional coaches or whoever had the input on the pick talk. And it was like 2 straight press conferences with Paul Alexander, and he was like, just being cocky about the pick, like, oh yeah, I'm glad we got Cedric Ogbuehi, and y'all don't know what y'all talking about, and yeah, he tore his ACL, but he's amazing, and it's like, dude ended up being a bum, and it's like this is the guy that you have, that you trust to evaluate players and pick them, and he hasn't developed them. He makes excuses for them because you could say from Ogbuehi to Bodine, like every last excuse in the book has been used by Paul Alexander.
That's true.
Like to compare, and I remember Witt said this, and I got so weak. It was like Paul Alexander even tried to
Use
explain to
wit.
Witt.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
tried to
use
use
Witt.
wit.
He
We was like,
said,
nah.
Rich Brown Rich Brom didn't even do this until he was like, "Look, bro, don't ever use Russell Bodine and Rich Brom in the same sentence." Hugh checked him though, but it's like, how senile is this dude to even compare people like that? He did the same thing with Oboye. Oh, he's just like Willie Anderson. He is in no shape, form of anyone's imagination anywhere comparable to Willie Anderson. So I agree, man. He's got to be out. Now, Laser it's tough, like you said, because it's like you got rid of Ken Zampezi. In my opinion, I feel like they should have went with James Urban. I don't know if Marvin felt the same. I don't know who felt what, but they went with Laser, and I was worried about Laser because I'm down here with a ton of Dolphins fans, so I already heard about Bill Laser before we even put him out there, and I was kind of salty when we just signed him to be the quarterbacks coach, but I was like, okay, he's not the OC. We can keep him away from them, and I mean that's what he does. He likes to pass, so cool. But then when they push him there, I was like, all right, it's gonna be a slight upgrade over Zampezi, but it's not gonna be much because he had like a notorious reputation for number one, passing the ball too much, not really running the ball, and then he would only score 20 points a game. That's what got him fired in Miami is they could never score over 20 points. So when we got him in there, I mean the offense, excuse me, definitely improved from Zampezi, but it's like the bar was set so low. It's like anybody could have really came in there and improved it and said, "Hey, pass
Yeah,
to Joe Mixon."
I think he, you know what, I give him a fair grade. I think for what he had to work with, I think he did okay.
Right.
I think it's hard to grade him because the thing about it though, that the offensive line had been so bad this year that you really didn't know what I mean. You really didn't know what I mean what type of OC he really is or what he was trying to do. But as far as the most part, he seemed to find a rhythm towards the back end of the year. And from my understanding though, um, a lot of the plays that we seen, whatever, he was still using Zampezi playbook. So a lot of the
Oh
stuff that we
man.
from what I'm understanding, he hasn't been able to implement none of the what he would want to do as far as with the offense. Marvin Lewis touched on this probably. Man, this had to be maybe a couple months ago. Was speaking of that they still are using the same playbook that as far as with Zampezi that was had. So and it would be too difficult to put in different things due to how the offense is already set up. They say you usually typically do that in the off season. So
Right.
it'd be interesting though. I mean, with that being said, he probably will get an opportunity. He probably will get an opportunity to come back and showcase what he can do, due to those particular things that were said. And I know you said somebody asked about who do we. I mean, as far as the draft wise,
Right.
um,
Yeah. Someone asked, who do we pick in the draft? Like with the
um,
first in the first round.
safest pick right now. I think it's going to be is that guard out of Notre Dame, and it's going to be Quentin Nelson.
Right.
Um, he nasty. He's AFC North. I put it like that. That's
Right.
one player that I could literally say that he's AFC North ready. He can come in and start day one. He and be that player that you want. Whatever. He has the nasty grit to play in the trenches. And just if anybody out there you want to, I suggest going online. Matter of fact, somebody, I think Bleacher Report just posted a video of him playing.
Choke slamming
Yeah,
somebody.
he choke slammed somebody and then sat on him. So he's every bit of nasty offensive lineman that you will want. Only thing probably about that is that once again we going back to Bengal, we don't pay guards. So you're
Right.
gonna have, do this every. I mean, he day one Pro Bowler, but are we gonna pay him? But we do need him right now because the offensive line is just. I mean, we don't know what that's gonna be. I mean, will Bowling next year be the left tackle?
That's what I'm wondering. That's a really good question.
Because
Um,
they make it resembles to Witt when Witt moved over and everything. So
that's exactly what I was saying in the group the other day because it's like the first game, according to Pro Football Focus, it wasn't so great, but I mean, it was his first game ever at left tackle. The second game, it was like night and day. Like the second game, dude graded as the second overall tackle in the NFL that weekend, which is crazy.
And
So it's like
who did he go? Who was he going against?
Terrell Suggs, one of the best, yeah, T Sizzle, one of the best edge rushers in the game.
So it wasn't like he was going against any scrub either. So
Right.
that that kind of, once again, that raised eyebrows. Like, all right, we may be asking, could we be working with another situation of wit that we could move him to left tackle
Right.
and draft his replacement as far as with a first round pick.
But the thing where it gets crazy to me is it's like you only with this new line that we just had these last 2 or 3 games with Cedric O'Boy, he finally getting on IR, and somebody Andre Smith going to IR, it kind of opened up some eyes at some other guys that were there that we didn't get to actually see. So like you said, Clint Boland at left tackle, we never got to see that. Alex Redmond was another pleasant surprise, which this dude, I've always been big on him since he was undrafted because I think I remember looking up his profile and it was like this dude was supposed to get drafted. He just left school early. He seems to be hitting his stride. I think that Lions game, he put his stamp on that. You talk about nasty AFC North type football, like his intensity in that game was crazy. And then you also talk about Christian Westerman, who also got his chance. You take those guys and move them around that line, bring in a guy like Quentin Nelson. This line is definitely, I think, revamped, but it's just so many question marks. Jacob says that the only problem is that Quentin Wilson isn't gonna fall to 12 though. That's the only problem. Somebody else said if you're saying Paul Alexander will miss on the pick this year, it will be Connor Williams, the OT from Texas. He has a bad injury history. Um,
From my understanding, I thought Connor only had one. This injury that he had this year was the only one. Maybe I could be mistaken though. I
yeah,
thought,
I'm not even sure. I haven't even looked up his injury history yet, so
yeah, I
y'all would
thought.
know more than I did.
And think about it though, he returned to form though for the last 2 games of Texas though, and he played pretty well. So I don't think it. I mean, it ain't like he went out on out. He's question mark what he looked like. He at least gave some game tape far as him as far as returning though.
Jared is saying that he thinks that Quentin Nelson actually might fall to 12 because he says that lots of quarterbacks, DBs, and Barkley are going in the top 10. I don't think it's. I don't know. I can't remember the last time, and I don't know if we have any historians in the group, but I can't remember the last time that a guard was taken in the top 10. Like even with you talked about they compare him to the dude for the Cowboys, right?
Martin.
Zach
Yeah,
Martin. I believe
yeah.
he was taken. Well, he was taken in the teens or the 20s, right?
I think Zach Martin was
Like
around. I thought he
like
was
the
around
teens.
the teens.
I
I
feel
think
like it
Zach.
was the teens, right?
I think Zach Martin was around the teens, whatever. But this guy, he's great. I mean, the grades he getting, they talking about he might be the best guard that came out in the past 20 years.
Right. I heard that he's like better than Zach Martin, and when Zach Martin came out, he was like one of the top ones too.
Yeah,
So
so I mean, if you getting grades like that, that just that's unbelievable. If somehow the Bengals do get their hands on him, I think it would be a blessing in disguise. This Dalton and Mixon need to send him a thank you or whatever and everything. Take him around the city, whatever they got to do to make him feel welcome. They need to
right.
make that happen though. So
Yeah, and I think, like you said, maybe it goes back to Marvin saying that he wants control and them being on the same page. Maybe he wanted to bring Zeitler back, but the only reason I feel like he might not have wanted to bring Zeitler back is because he made that underhanded comment that was like, guys want to be the top paid per position in the league more than coming back. So maybe it wasn't him.
and that was true though.
Um,
That was true.
right.
Zyler agent said that.
He did say that. He did say that. Another. So Brian is asking, would we look at quarterback in the draft? And before, honestly, like before the whole Marvin situation happened, I was like, okay, well, we could have a new coach, and a new coach could, either roll with Andy Dalton, want a new quarterback, want his own guy, do both, where it's a situation where it keeps Andy Dalton, develops another guy. Me personally, I think that Marvin Lewis, I think like Moody said earlier, the ship has sailed on the whole new quarterback thing. I don't really see Marvin Lewis bringing in another draft pick, and especially based off of how Andy Dalton ended the season. He turned his season around a little bit at the end as well, and through like the second half of the season. And I think with Marvin Lewis, he's been one thing that you can say about Marvin Lewis is that he's been loyal to Andy Dalton. Like we haven't even really seen AJ McCarron get in. There hasn't even with AJ McCarron almost winning a playoff game, you still have not heard anything about there being any kind of jeopardy for Andy Dalton's job. So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think quarterback is even an option now. I think if the Bengals, like I said, would have went in a different direction, maybe, and that's still a slight maybe, but I think it's offensive line. I think even right now you just have to do, even if you have to throw darts at a board, you have to go offensive line, and you have to protect your quarterback. And you already went and got the fast receiver in Ross. You have AJ Green. You have Tyler Boyd, who emerged at the end of the year. You have Tyler Croft. I mean, there's not really, in my opinion, like when you look at this roster, the weak spots are offensive line,
Thank you.
maybe some defensive interior, a little bit, not really.
I was
Really, linebacker more than that. Linebacker is like, if they went, the only acceptable position for them to go to me, and it depends on what they do in free agency or how the chips fall. If they went and got Roquan Smith out of Georgia, with that, I could kind of understand that. I could kind of see like, okay, after Vontaze Burfict, you have nobody. Like if Vontaze Burfict isn't playing, the defense isn't the same. Like it just we really got hit, and it seems like a continuing theme for this team. Even though we went out and grabbed Kevin Minter, is that the linebacker core outside of Vontaze Burfict is just weak, and I don't know what it is,
it
but
it comes down to it. Dude is the heart and soul of that defense. It ain't no way around it.
right,
You can't sugarcoat it no way. Because when he's in there, they look totally different. When he's out, you like, who the hell is this playing? Whatever and everything. You have no clue, and it's crazy how they night and day with him. Even though I
right,
know a lot of fans are kind of critical of Burfict and stuff like that. I mean, they have they justified reasons to be, but you
right.
got to admit though, dude is the heart of the defense. Period. Now, as far as quarterback, I don't see no quarterback being taken early, but I do see a quarterback being taken in this draft. As far as I think that you probably around the same way they got AJ McCarron, so I'm thinking around maybe fourth, fifth round. You probably see somebody. I'm praying my guy Ohio. They snatch my guy from Old State, whatever, and bring him down
JT
here.
Barrett, that would be a
Yeah,
nice pickup.
I think that'd be whatever, be a slick backup behind Dalton.
You talked about you mentioned AJ McCarron real quick, and there was a question in the chat of what exactly do we do with McCarron? Is he going to be a free agent? I know we don't really find out until February, but
15th.
what should the Bengals do in your opinion? What should the Bengals do with AJ McCarron? That's another hot topic.
Well, they gonna do, well. I mean, what I think of what are they gonna do? Basically, they gonna they gonna tender him. They gonna tender him with a first round tender, and they will trade him. McCarron is gone. If anybody read the exit interview yet from day before yesterday, where he basically cleaned out his locker, he had his talk with
He
Marvin
did that
Lewis.
again.
What'd you say?
I said he did that again.
Yeah, he cleaned his. Yeah, he did. He cleaned his locker out. He said his goodbyes to everybody, and he's going back to Alabama. He's going back to Alabama till he hear further wise what's going on.
Right.
My personal opinion, I don't. I think he's not going to win the case, and that they will actually trade him. Um, I think right now with the announce of our ex quarterback Carson Palmer being retired now,
Right.
Arizona's now is now looking for a quarterback.
Right.
What Hugh is still in Cleveland. Is Hugh gonna start a rookie quarterback out the gates in the AFC North? Those are question marks and stuff like that. I don't think Hugh can afford that. You can afford to put a rookie out there in Cleveland and have him shell shock the first year.
I don't know. Like the only thing I think is that Cleveland, to me, the only reason that they shouldn't do it, if they're gonna give us the same compensation that they were offering during the season, which is a second and a third round pick, I don't know if you want to invest that much or that many picks because in a draft the key is to basically have the most picks. I don't know if you want to address two picks and McCarron if you can get whoever it is you need with the first pick, and they had
Right.
two top fives. So I mean, I don't know. Like from my standpoint, with the Browns, I kind of don't know exactly the direction that they're going to go into because John Dorsey was just there last year. I get the weird feeling that the Browns might pick Lamar Jackson because I can't see Hugh passing on somebody like that. Like,
You know what?
I
I think Kaiser is maybe has scared them. I think John Dorsey is a pocket
right.
pass. I think he's gonna. I think Dorsey gonna push for a pocket pass at QB.
That's what. But this is the thing. What's weird is Dorsey was the dude that was fired like right after the Chiefs draft, and he went and got Pat Mahomes, who's like a scrambler, but also has that gunslinger kind of vibe to him. So I really, to be honest with you, I just can't really get a read on what Dorsey is going to do. Like you said, he could go for the big passer and like a Rosen or something like that. But I don't know. I just feel like the reason I don't really think that Hugh wanted, and I'm just speaking off of speculation. I don't really think that Hugh wanted. I don't think he wanted dude. Like I read a lot of reports that Hugh wanted, and I don't know if Sashi Brown overruled him and said that the analytics say that we can get Kaiser later and he's still gonna be as good. But I don't think that he really wanted that dude like that. So I don't know. Like
It's
that
I mean they got some tough decisions to make in Cleveland though. Because the thing about it though, this draft they have to get right. They don't get
right,
this draft right, whatever. You talking about already setback? They gonna set their setback for another 5 years. Because you got, I mean, so because that's not too often that you have two first. I mean, top five at that
right.
first round picks. So you got to strike go, and then it's so much buzz going on. They saying the Indianapolis owner is in love with Barkley,
Right.
as far as the
The running
coach.
back. Right.
Yeah, and they need O line help.
Right.
So Jim Irsay, whatever, you gonna pick a quarter. I mean, you gonna pick a running back.
See, that's the,
So
that's the thing. I could see him. I could honestly see him trying to pick Nelson just to try to offset that. But I mean, it's still so early, man. I have no idea what any of these cats are gonna do. To be honest with you, like, but the thing with Cleveland is they've spent so many years passing on quarterbacks. Are they really gonna pass on a quarterback again
yeah,
this year?
I don't think they will, but I think, but I also don't think they can afford to start him, run him out on the field day one,
Right.
unless they're gonna continue to play Kaiser. And the
Right.
whole little thing, I actually went to the game here where Hugh and the owner, Cleveland owner Jimmy Haslam, were talking to McCarron. They gave that little political BS. We were just talking about sports and all that, whatever and everything. Man, it's something there. It's something
Right.
there. It's
Right. I
definitely,
agree.
yeah.
I
It's
definitely, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think like you said earlier though, that Cardinals move might be the move for us. That
Yeah,
that
because
trying
think
to
about it.
see
I can't even think what they picking 17. Where is the
let me
Cardinal picking this year?
pull it up real quick.
Because
But
they're not.
that would be a nice little move for us to be honest. Like if they were willing to give up a first rounder or a second round, because I know that they didn't finish too high, right?
Don't think so.
Oh, they did. I didn't even know they finished 8-8. They went 8-8
Yeah,
without Carson. Ooh, 8-8. Man, I would ask them for that number 15 pick from McCarron. I'm sorry. Like this is the thing. Like if we get the leverage and those teams, like I'm pretty sure, like Arizona's probably gonna have to try to trade up. But if they can't trade up and all of those quarterbacks are gone, they might have to give us that 15 pick from McCarron.
and then the thing about it though, to get in that top 10, I mean, are they willing to give up the house? Because you damn near to get in the top 10, you are gonna have to give up a one for next year. I mean, for the following year.
Right, right. Yeah, I would definitely get on the line with their GM, in which I watched their little Amazon special a couple years ago. He loves like Bengals players. He's always scouting like whoever we get rid of. You talk about Frosty Rucker, Carson Palmer was there. So there's definitely that connection that he respects the talent that we bring in. So I would definitely hit him up to see if he's willing to part with that 15 pick for AJ McCarron. I mean that might be too much, but hey, Jimmy Garoppolo just went for a second rounder, and I think that the price on all quarterbacks just went up off of that.
I think Jimmy may have raised the stock because they but just I mean from just based off how he played at the end of the year, he might
Right,
got people saying like, "Well, hell, if we can get that out of him, he may be worth it." So they
right.
could.
It almost seems like the Patriots might have wanted to ask for more. Like if we were able to get a second and third rounder for McCarron, then that just I don't know. It just shoots up the value of it.
I agree. I
Someone
definitely.
said that if Nelson is gone at 12, would you consider taking Josh Jackson, the cornerback from Iowa?
Nah, I think we right now, whatever the far as corners, whatever. I think we good. I think we got to worry. We matter of fact, we got to gear to give some money to Darquez Denard, because that's he's been I don't know what happened this year, what he did, but whatever he did, he
Right.
kept up because I mean, he went from the weakest link to now one of the top corner for us right now on the team. I would say I would consider him the second best corner on the team.
Speaking of corners, so with Marvin Stan, what do you think that bodes for Pac-Man Jones? Because he's going into a year where it's a team option,
I think
and
I think he stays. I think he
you
stays.
think he said?
Yeah, I think he stays for this last year.
So what happens? So if Pac-Man stays, you have William Jackson III, who seems to be, in my opinion, the best corner that they have in terms of being a shutdown corner. You
Mm,
have the talented Darquez Denard.
mm,
You have to play Dre because you paid him 50 million, and then you have
mm-hmm.
Pac-Man. How can you make that work in that secondary?
You just gotta do the best you can, whatever. Next man up, whatever. But I think next year they have no choice but to start William Jackson after this year though. I think they gotta get him on the field. You can't you that type of talent, you can't let it sit.
Right,
So I think it's gonna I mean it be Pac-Man and Dark Quest and R alternating that slot. That be the only way that's gonna be able to play out.
right. I agree. I agree. Was there any more that we wanted to talk about Marv? Like, should people be upset? You know
Now
what?
I'm gonna say this about Marvin. You got people. I know you got one side of the field that everybody ready got pitchforks ready. You know we need to get him out of town, and then you got the other side that's people that's like, hey, wait a minute, pump your brakes, whatever and everything. It may be more to this than just Marv. So it's two sides and everything, and everybody got real good logics. Whatever. Do we need a new voice and stuff like that? I can agree to you. I would like to hear somebody talk different on
Right,
Sundays. Whatever, I can admit to that. But looking at the landscape of coaches that was available, looking at what came out far as the situation, far as he asking for more power and being realistic. Mike Brown really gonna let a new coach come in and tell him, "Hey, we need to do this"? I don't see it. I don't see it. So I
oh
think
man, my bad. I'm not laughing at you. Somebody in the chat said the uh they changed the Bengals Reddit into a subreddit about Bengals Tigers after they re-signed Marv. Nah, man, God.
it's gonna be. I tell you, this is probably gonna be one of the most interesting off seasons that we've seen since what 2011. Since yeah,
Right.
so
I don't know, man. Like, I hope for the best, but the Bengals, they just like I don't know what was more shocking to me, whether it was Marvin coming back or the fact that he resigned for not 1 but 2 years. It's
you
like,
know what I thought. You know what? If I thought he was gonna resign, I thought it was gonna be for like one more year. I'm like
right,
that was my trainer. I was actually really surprised about this 2 year thing. I was like, man, if he come back, he probably gonna do another 1 year deal, especially with Jay and Hugh still
right.
situation. I'm like, well, he probably throw 1 year. So the 2 year. That's the 2 year kind of telling me that he somehow got his way or something he wanted.
And
Um,
that's my thing. It's like I think I don't know if it's I don't know. It's like you get frustrated, but it's like the Bengals are gonna do what the Bengals do. But what was weird to me was that the only thing that I kind of would have changed with it is going into the situation. It was like Marvin had the power, and it's like how could you evaluate the last two seasons and put the power in his court? But like you said, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But I really don't know, man. Like I feel like there's definitely going to be a lot of fans that are upset because everybody was looking forward to him being gone. But I think the only way that you can recover from this, even though Mike Brown is a private person, you need to come out and say what Marvin Lewis wasn't able to do. Why we had two back-to-back seasons of him struggling, so that the fans can actually understand. Because not saying anything makes it just seem like it was all on Marvin.
yeah,
And I mean,
it leaves him as a lame duck. But you know
right.
they ain't gonna say that though.
They're not gonna say it. They're not
They
gonna say it. And it's
they're not
like,
gonna say it. They're not gonna say it. They're not gonna
oh man.
they're not gonna say it at all. But it just I just tell everybody strap your seatbelt on. It's gonna be interesting to see how all this plays out.
Right.
Um,
It is. It is, man. I hope that it gets better. Cause my only now one thing, my only complaints with Marvin, it never was anything to do with the personnel. I think my problem with him was the halftime adjustments, and I don't know where it started to become an issue where it was like more prevalent. But I hope that next year he at least tries to focus on it. Because my thing is, it's like Marvin. I don't know if it's because it's like, dude, I've been a head coach for or I've been an NFL coach for over 20 years. Who the hell are media members and fans to question me on, how I coach, which I understand that. But it's like, you can't come out here, dude, and say that second half adjustments don't exist, man. You gotta be more.
I think
I
you
don't
got
know.
to
I
be more.
think for
I think you got to be more involved because from what I've been told by some players though is that the adjustments are done by the assistant coaches and
gotcha,
whatever
gotcha.
and everything. Each whatever Marv gives the assistant coaches a lot of leeway to make their own. He doesn't really step on those shoes, which even Zim mentioned though. He said that was actually a blessing to have a coach that would trust him like that. Whatever, trust him to the fact that you know. Let them have the option instead of hey they have their hands on the offense and defense. I think
Right,
you know he either you got to get stronger coordinators or you got to be a little bit more. I don't want to say micromanage, but
right.
just a little bit more hands on with those guys.
And I think like you said, that's a good example of what goes on behind the scenes. And it's like the fact that I think for Marvin, I think the frustration comes from
Oh, lost you. Okay, you still there?
and then it would have been like, okay, well, we know that the assistants are handling these things. I think the frustration comes from just I don't think that it's major things necessarily. Like I've seen a lot of coaches do worse stuff than Marvin Lewis, but I think it's like small things like people don't see any kind of emotion from him on the sidelines. They like to see him be emotional. But I mean, he's not really that type of person. Bill Belichick isn't really that type of person. So there's the good coaches and bad coaches that are like that. The fact that he can't get over the hump, I think that's one of the issues with people. But I mean, a lot of players have been on Marvin Lewis teams, and he's put them in positions for us to actually get over the hump, like he did in 2015. We just couldn't seal the deal. I think another complaint people have is that sometimes he doesn't have control over his players. That's also us speculating. Like, yeah, we can see the blow ups and stuff like that, but still, you don't know what's being said in that actual locker room, what's going on, what's transpiring.
Every player, you say that to any player, whatever, they look I mean they twist their lips up at that like, dude, that's so
Right.
far from not. I mean, so far not from not being true. It just
Right.
hearsay that that media crank out there.
Right. Right. Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. Like the media cranking out certain stories and painting it in a different light, which I don't think that is like that because it seems like every one of those players seem to have his back for sure. Um, let's see. I think Nardo, you still there? All right, I think he's having some technical difficulties, but I would think that the last complaint that most of us have is that Marvin has a lack of preparation in big games and on bye weeks and things of that nature. So if that can improve, obviously we've seen that he's been able to overcome those with some of his coaching staff hires that he's had with like Hugh Jackson and some of his assistant coaches. So hopefully hopefully he's gonna have more control now. I wish we would hear what exactly that control means, but more than likely we will not. Just let me jump back into the comments. Let me hope Nardo gets situated here. Any thoughts on Eifert? Eifert is going to be a pretty big question mark going into the season next year. I'm not sure if he's. I think that they'll want him back, but the emergence of Tyler Croft is big. I think that he's still going to try to come back and play. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Nardo would agree that they're probably going to franchise him. But yeah, we'll see. A lot of people are talking about his injury situation. Yeah, Crawford is definitely to me. If you guys check out my the video that I did on the season awards, I definitely named him as my most improved player on offense. Tyler Crawford has been a beast this year. But looks like looks like we're having some technical difficulties with Nardo. But Nardo, thanks for coming on, joining us, and discussing Marvin Lewis, the draft, all things Bengals. We'll definitely have to do this again. But as usual, you guys jump in the comments. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on Marvin Lewis, on the future, on some of the things that me and Nardo said. If you're looking to find Nardo, you can find him on Bengals Real Talk. It's a Facebook group. So if you go on Facebook and look up Bengals Real Talk, you'll be able to find his actual group, and he's very insightful. He gets a lot of inside information from the players, as you heard tonight. Me and him, we both get stuff. Most of that stuff, honestly, comes from Nardo. Like Nardo is like in the field when it comes to getting these stories and stuff like that. So if you ever hear anything from him, it's pretty much legit. But yeah, make sure you check us out. Follow us on Twitter, comment, subscribe. Please share this with anybody you know. If you're a diehard Bengals fan, the best thing that you can do is comment, subscribe, and share this with anybody you know, anybody that's a diehard Bengals fan, because that's what we do it for. But as usual, I'll leave you guys with a who day all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.